Chapter 1. Kidnapped. There are no records of Phillis Wheatley's childhood. We don't even know her name at birth or where and when she was born. One of her poems suggests she grew up happy in her African homeland with a family who loved her. That is, until 1760, when she was kidnapped, probably by some Africans paid by European traders. At that time, the people of Africa didn't consider themselves citizens of a united continent. They saw themselves as members of different tribes and were often at war with each other. For this reason, it was easy for European traders to find Africans who were willing to kidnap people of other tribes in exchange for some goods. To do their trading, Europeans preferred to stay on the coast, where they had fewer chances of contracting the diseases that were common on the African continent and for which they had no immunity. Besides, Africans knew the region much better and raised less attention when they approached a village to take captives. Once they kidnapped enough people, these paid Africans made their captives walk to the coast to meet the European traders. The man who took Phillis and other slaves on his ship was a captain named Peter Gwynn. He had been commissioned by an American merchant, Timothy Finch, to buy about 100 prime slaves from local traders in exchange for 2,640 gallons of rum, a strong alcoholic beverage, and other goods. Finch had repeatedly told Gwynn to buy as few women and girls as possible. His first choice was strong men who could perform hard work. Somehow, Gwynn included little Phillis in the group of slaves he took to America. He might have taken her on board around the end of his journey down the west coast of Africa. Years later, Phillis recognized this as part of God's plan. Slaves were usually packed tightly on ships and had hardly any air to breathe. Being a harmless child, Phillis might have enjoyed a little more freedom of movement. The trip to America took about 240 days. When the ship arrived in Boston at the end of the journey, only 74 of the 95 slaves who were with Phillis were alive. It was a traumatic experience for a young girl. We don't know if Phillis was sold on the ship or in the harbor. In any case, she probably didn't attract many buyers. Small and frail, she didn't seem fit for work. But John and Susanna Wheatley saw some potential in this little girl. Phillis was missing her front teeth, and this might have reminded them of their daughter Sarah, who had died a few years earlier when she was 7. They assumed this young girl was the same age. They called her Phillis, after the name of the ship that had brought her to America.